Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. I am Michelle Kinney. I'm here with my friend Julie Roginski. It is 8 a.m. Eastern, well, 8:07 to be exact, in New York, and 8:07 in Arlington, Virginia, where President Trump delivered one of the more bonkers speeches of his life, and that is really saying something. So, welcome to the Mayday Morning Show on the Mayday Network. So yesterday, Trump went to Arlington National Cemetery again to do some weird stuff, but was supposed to just deliver a speech in honor of Veterans Day. Totally normal thing. So far, so good. But the speech took a very sharp turn. So I just want you to take a look at this first clip here.
They were
Oops.
they were sick. And the other thing is we fired thousands of people who didn't take care of our great veterans. They were sadists, they were sick people, they were thieves, they were everything you want to name, and we got rid of over 9,000 of them. And then when Biden came in, he hired them back, many of them, but we got rid of them. And I think we got rid of them permanently. We replaced them with people who love our veterans, not people who are sick people.
And then he referred to our veterans as a wall of flesh, which was fun.
On Veterans Day, we honor who have worn the uniform, who have borne the battle, who have stood to watch, and whose ranks have formed the mighty wall of flesh and blood, bravery and devotion that has defended our freedom for 250 years.
Yes. Wall of flesh. So look, we're just going to say what corporate media is not going to say. Trump is mentally ill. He is unwell. He is sick in the head. And there is no doubt that he is unwell. Believe your eyes, believe your ears. He is exactly what he presents to the world to be. So why are Washington insiders afraid to just call it out? I don't know, Julie.
Because they're terrified of him because, they're not doctors. They haven't diagnosed him. Or it's
right. So I'm like, have doctors on. Have them talk about it.
Yes. And doctors, of course, are like, we can't diagnose because we've never treated him. Listen, it is right before your eyes. And I will go a step further. And this is not funny because I have this in my own family, but you have an elderly man whose father had Alzheimer's, whose sister died of Alzheimer's. Or with Alzheimer's, I should say. I think maybe I don't know about his brother, but certainly his sister and his dad. He's got it in his family, and Alzheimer's is genetic, and often, and it is exacerbated by, let's think about this, a poor diet, like eating McDonald's 24/7, which is what he does. It is exacerbated by stress, which he lives under 24/7. It is exacerbated by lifestyle, which is if you have to walk like 5 miles a day if you want to stave it off. I don't think Donald Trump has ever walked in his life. And so he's got all the markers for it. He's got the history for it. And I think you're seeing it right before your eyes. I mean, he was always weird, but he's getting worse. He's getting worse, and we see it before our eyes. And I don't understand why. Listen, I don't know if he's got Alzheimer's or he's got some other form of dementia or something's happening to him. He is not well. He's not well, and I really wish our media would just acknowledge it. And then, Michelle, I want to add something else when he's talking about the veterans and how he fired. I don't know who he fired. There are almost 10% of the veteran population, 8%, but almost 1 out of 10 lives in a household that used to receive SNAP benefits. Not anymore, because this man took away SNAP benefits, despite the fact that Congress appropriated a fund just in this kind of instance where if the government is shut down, people will receive SNAP benefits. If you're a veteran today, you may be starving thanks to Donald Trump. So I don't want to hear that shit from him about how he stands up for veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He thinks they're losers. You had his former chief of staff, John Kelly, say that he overheard Trump say that they're losers and I don't know what else, that real people don't get killed.
Yep.
He likes people who weren't captured. Like he didn't, he was negative on John McCain. How much more evidence do people in our military, and now he's sending people in the military to extrajudiciously kill fishing boats off the coast of Venezuela for whatever reason.
For reason, I mean, here's the thing. In 2024 on the campaign trail, that's not something I think any of us heard about. The words Venezuela and bombing shipping boats is not something that ever came up. So, and I would just like to remind people, I know it's no longer Veterans Day, it was yesterday, but it should be every day that we recognize and honor these people who've served our country. And I just want to remind people the reports of when John Kelly confirmed the suckers and losers thing. Let me just play this.
First time ever, Kelly sets the record straight with on-the-record confirmation of a number of damning details about Donald Trump from background sources, including from a 2020 Atlantic story reported with unnamed sources by editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg, including the stunning detail that Trump turned to Kelly on Memorial Day at Arlington National Cemetery in 2017 and asked, "I don't get it. What was in it for them?" This is Kelly confirming on the record stories of Trump insulting Senator John McCain and former President George H.W. Bush because in Vietnam and in World War II, respectively, the former aviators were shot down. Kelly describes Trump as, quote, "a person that thinks those who defend their country in uniform or are shot down or seriously wounded in combat or spend years being tortured as POWs are all, quote, suckers because, quote, there is nothing in it for them. A person that did not want to be seen in the presence of military amputees because, quote, it doesn't look good for me. A person that demonstrated open contempt for a Gold Star family, for all Gold Star families on TV during the 2016 campaign."
And John Kelly's son died in combat. I just
Yeah.
want to be clear. So John Kelly is a Gold Star family himself, a father. Look, what irritates me to no end is that, and I don't know why the hell the Obama administration did nothing about this and why the Biden administration did nothing about this. Fox News plays on military bases nonstop. That is the TV that our troops consume.
Mm-hmm.
That is the only thing that you consume when you're in combat somewhere, sitting in, on a base in Iraq or.
Right. So when you're in the foxhole, like, what are you thinking about?
Like you're thinking about. So they're not necessarily getting real news. They're getting propaganda.
Right.
And that's why so many of these young men and women then go up the ranks and don't quite appreciate who their commander-in-chief is.
Mm-hmm.
He loathes them. He despises them. He thinks they are suckers and losers, and he thinks that they are lesser than he is because he was smart enough to get out of Vietnam and they didn't, and they weren't smart enough to get out of combat. This is a man who got out of Vietnam because of bone spurs.
Right.
But played military dress up because he was such a shithead as a kid that his parents sent him to military school.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know somebody who went to that school after Trump. That school
really?
That school doesn't exist anymore because it was so ridiculous. That's the kind of school, according to my friend AJ, who went there. When you completely mess up and your parents just don't know what to do with you anymore, they're like, "That's it. You're going to military school." Like that.
Yeah.
That's the school. That's the school. That's not Exeter, Andover, any of these other really fancy boarding schools where rich people send their kids because they're.
It's like, I'm sending you to boarding school in Switzerland. It's like,
one of those. It's not that. It's a reform school.
Right.
That doesn't exist anymore. So, my grandfather fought in World War II on the Eastern Front because if he didn't, his family would have been killed by Nazis.
Right.
And I mean, that wasn't even a question, of course. And he was in his 30s. I mean, he was older.
Yeah.
To go to work. He's like, of course.
At that time, especially. Yeah.
Of course, this is what you do. I'm not a big fan of John McCain. I think he was deeply overrated. I think this whole hagiography around John McCain as a senator is absurd. I also worked in the Senate when John McCain was there. He was a deeply unpleasant man on a personal level.
I've heard that. I've heard that.
But I will say John McCain did not need to go to Vietnam. He had a family tradition of service. So he followed it and he ended up in Vietnam, but he didn't need to. I mean, his father was an admiral. He did not need to go to, he didn't need to do anything.
Right.
But he did. and he fought and he got shot down and he didn't break for years. They beat him. The man could not raise his arms like this. I mean, he had to have somebody dress him because he couldn't literally himself every day. And he didn't need to do any of that. They were willing to trade him because of who his father was, the Vietnamese, the Viet Cong. They were really ready to trade him. And he said, no, I want to stay. I don't want special treatment.
Mm-hmm.
You can't deny that. You cannot deny that. That man, it's not that he was, stupid enough to get shot down. I mean, was Trump stupid enough to get shot in Butler?
Right. And here's a clip that we all talk about pretty often in that interview with Howard Stern, where he talks about like not getting STDs and not getting HIV in the 80s was his own personal Vietnam. I'm just going to play that.
Right. And when you got him say to a woman, hey, listen, you got to go to my personal doctor and I'm going to have you checked out. Is that a tough thing to say to a woman, or you just got the balls to say it?
You know, I tell you, it's amazing. I can't even believe it. I've been so lucky.
Right.
In terms of that whole world.
You've never gotten a social disease.
It is a dangerous world out there.
It is.
Scary. It's like Vietnam, sort of like, the Vietnam era.
It is your personal Vietnam, isn't it?
It is my personal
It is. You've said that many
I feel
times.
like a great and very brave soldier.
Oh.
You know, I was, my in-laws came in yesterday. We were all sitting on.
How was that?
Oh no, it was great. It was great.
Okay.
We were all sitting on the couch and talking about Veterans Day because my sister-in-law who's been on our show.
Was she there?
No, but we had talked to her and everything, and we were just talking about Veterans Day and the meaning and she had gone to an event or something today or yesterday or something. And we were talking about Vietnam and how Vietnam was a poor man's war. It was a working class person's war. And if you were, a rich kid's son, or if you were a senator's son, to the song "Fortunate Son" by CCR, yeah, you didn't have to go. Yeah. You didn't have to go. If you were the Donald Trumps of the world, you didn't have to go. And watching the videos yesterday, I don't know if you saw it, of Barack Obama greeting the plane from Wisconsin of the veterans, and just the looks on their faces. And so many of those Vietnam veterans said how much it meant to them to be greeted with respect and admiration and honor getting off that plane, because when they got home from Vietnam, many of them were harassed and booed after having to go serve in a war that they didn't want to serve in, and against their will. And it makes me think about some people like Donald Trump, who've had every luxury, every comfort handed to them their whole lives, and never having to sacrifice for anything or anyone except for himself. And I think about him standing in Arlington Cemetery among the departed soldiers who either served or gave the ultimate sacrifice in service. What a disgrace. What a disgrace. What a disgrace. It's just such a slap in the face of everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what we're dealing with is just a man who hates this country. He does. I've said this over and over and over again. I actually wrote a Substack about this a long time ago, which I think is probably one of the best things I ever wrote, which talked about, not that I believe this, but hypothetically, let's say that a young boy was born somewhere in some peasant village in Russia back in 1907 during Stalin, and the Stalinist regime took him and gave him to somebody to indoctrinate, which everybody indoctrinated, right? But to diplomats. And then those diplomats came here to the United States as diplomats with their son, who was a baby, and gave him to, this is hypothetical, I do not believe this obviously happened.
Yeah.
Gave him to a wealthy American family that was secretly on the Stalinist payroll to raise, to become the most successful person he could become, and eventually become president of the United States. And this is Stalin if he was playing the really long game. And that boy grew up to be Donald Trump.
Right.
Could you imagine if that were the case, that boy who has been indoctrinated by the Soviets and then the Russians to serve them would be doing anything different than what Donald Trump is doing today.
Mhm. Yeah. Mary P in the chat saying, the Manchurian candidate. I mean, that really is kind
The
of,
Manchurian candidate, but I mean, the Manchurian candidate this is like worse, right? This is,
yeah,
and,
just somehow worse. Yeah.
yeah. But think about that. Think about that if that scenario were accurate, that it's like a dystopian novel, right? But let's assume that we're living in that dystopian novel, which we're not, I don't think. But what would he be doing any different on any level? Like what decisions would Donald Trump have made if that were the case that would be any different than what he's making today?
Mhm.
I mean, I don't even know if people know this because we don't have time to cover all the news, but Olga and I will be covering it on Pax Americana tomorrow, I'm sure. They're watering down the resolution in the UN, the United
Yeah.
States, on Ukraine to say that no, Ukraine's sovereign integrity, territorial integrity, the United States doesn't believe in it. I mean, like, what is going on here?
Also, like, what's the point of having the UN or any like NATO, or you know what I'm saying? If no one's going to hold the United States accountable, everyone's so again, the rest of the world is the Republican Party right now, like afraid, having conversations behind closed doors, trying to,
Well,
function independently. It's crazy.
no, we talked about, Michelle, how the Dutch were not sharing intelligence information with us anymore.
Right.
Now the British aren't. Now I want to be really clear about the British and our relationship with them when it comes to and to the Brits on this in the chat. You know this. It is the longest
Yep.
intelligence relationship that we have.
Mhm.
The Brits have the best intelligence service
Yeah.
in the world. It's up there with Mossad, but I think even better. I mean, nobody does it better than the Brits.
Yep.
And they're no longer sharing intelligence information with us. They're one of the original. I mean, they're the Five Eyes really began with them and us.
Mhm.
And the fact that our strongest intelligence ally is not sharing intel with us anymore because of Venezuela, because they believe that intelligence that they give to us is used to extrajudiciously kill people. And the fact that they're saying it publicly, that's the key here that I want people to understand. They're sounding the alarm.
Yeah.
They could have just done this privately, but they're saying it publicly, which means that it's gotten so bad that they need to sound the alarm to whoever they need to send this message to publicly, that the United States is not it's not just no longer to be trusted. I believe that they're worried this president and potentially Tulsi Gabbard, or more likely Tulsi Gabbard, is probably giving intel information to the Russians.
And beyond just like the intent of actually giving information, like that, then there's the other side of this, that's the incompetence, the signal gate, right? The texting war plans over, a text message. There's incompetence and also just, traitorous behavior happening. And so altogether it is a perfect or imperfect storm, if you will, of shit. And, meanwhile, it's like the Trump administration approval ratings are at all-time lows, like the lowest ever. And yet again, he said yesterday that
we have a 92% approval rating. We took that up from 38%.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Okay. Well, Michelle, should we move on to, we have a new segment today
Yes,
that
we
we're
do.
try,
Yes, we do.
try out. And here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to say it and then we're going to move on. This is a rant. Do we want to transition or what do we want to do?
Yes.
Okay.
We're going to transition and we will be right back.
Okay. All right, you guys, as I said, we're going to try a new thing here. The morning show called the Roginski Rant. God knows I have a lot to rant about. It's like Festivus with the airing of grievances, but all the time. And today I want to talk about the problem with Washington Democrats. And I want to just say this. I have a Substack coming out on this today for the banter, not for my own Substack, but for the banter. You could read much more about it. But I'm going to tell you what I think about Washington Democrats today. If Democratic leaders in Washington have a unifying principle these days, it isn't progressivism or pragmatism, it's fear. Fear of bad headlines, fear of Wall Street, fear of Fox News, fear of Donald Trump, fear most of all of their own shadows. And nowhere is that timidity more calcified than in the United States Senate, where Democrats have made governing from fear into an art form. We just saw that on Sunday. The Senate breeds this pathology. The upper chambers where big ideas go to be tranquilized, a place where Democrats in particular treat institutional caution as proof of statesmanship. They revere process like a civic religion. The filibuster becomes a sacred relic, comity a sacrament. But this fear runs deeper than procedure. It's existential. Senate Democrats fear conflict itself, the visible exercise of power. They equate governing with refereeing and compromise with courage. The result is a caucus that doesn't lead public opinion and tries to anticipate it, triangulate it, and get out of its way before it bites. The gravitational pull of Donald Trump's intimidation politics still define the Senate Democrats' posture. The president's brand of performative dominance has colonized their imaginations. He tweets, they tremble. He lies, they issue sternly worded letters. He breaks precedent. They discuss norms that have long been extinct. The result is that Trump sets the tempo of American politics even when he's not in the room. And the Senate Democrats' compliance, their obsession with not seeming as angry or radical as he says they are, keeps his cultural authority alive. The party's Washington wing has internalized a worldview that equates caution with competence. Boldness to them is recklessness. So they perform adult-in-the-room politics, always de-escalating, always hedging, always triangulating. They think this makes them look responsible. In fact, it makes them look afraid. There is a possibility that Trump's overreach will put both houses of Congress in play next year. I want to just be clear on that, which means that Democrats might be back in the majority. If that happens, the first thing they must do is reclaim their moral imagination. Guys, the Senate once produced giants, Lyndon Johnson, Robert and Ted Kennedy, Paul Wellstone, who believed politics could change the structure of society. Today's Democrats treat it like a customer service desk. They can start reversing that by actually using the power they have. Because if they don't, fear will continue to write the Democratic script, one surrender at a time. We'll be right back.
Are you ready for this? Are you ready?
I like the Roginski rant.
Oh,
I'm a fan. I'm a fan, Julie.
I got a lot to rant about.
Well, while we're ranting, this is always one of my favorite topics to talk about. Remember, Julie, how air traffic controllers were told to show up to work without a paycheck for the last 50 days? Delightful. And I feel safer. So unlike Donald Trump and former reality show contestant and current transportation commissioner Sean Duffy, whose wife earns a hefty paycheck at Fox News, many of them were forced to take on second jobs in order to pay for food and shelter for their families. And this has led to missed shifts as they prioritized work that paid them over volunteering their time to the federal government for free to keep the planes flying. So this, of course, has enraged Trump and Sean Duffy. Let's start with a Sean Duffy clip here. Let's watch this.
They talked about penalizing some of these air traffic controllers who took sick time. So can you talk about what that plan would look like there?
Well, my concern is for those air traffic controllers who, before they missed a paycheck and we were in the shutdown, they decided on a continual basis not to show up for work. They don't know how long the shutdown was going to be. They hadn't missed a pay period, and they didn't come to work. I'm concerned about those controllers. I'm concerned about their dedication. I'm concerned about their patriotism. And so we haven't made a decision, but we are going to look at those controllers who continually made the decision not to show up for work. And again, we have to look at the data. I would just tell you, I'm trying to bring more air traffic controllers in. I'm not trying to take air traffic controllers out. But if we have controllers who systemically weren't doing their job, we will take action.
I actually don't even really know where to begin. So it's interesting. Sean Duffy and Donald Trump have no problem with their Republican friends in the House taking a 5-week paid vacation, which, if, by the way, you call them out, they don't like to be told that and they will yell at you. And they had this 5-week paid vacation during the shutdown, but apparently federal workers who have had to feed their families need to be punished. By the way, the private aviation industry has had its best month in nearly 20 years. It's just another example of how the rich get richer and the poor are getting poorer in this country. And the US market saw about 245,000 private jet departures in October, which is an increase over with the same percentages compared to the same period last year. So, Julie, I don't know at what point it became a question of patriotism if you want to feed your family and not work for free.
I mean, Sean Duffy, as we talked about, he's not struggling. His wife makes a lot of money. Fox News, Rachel Campos Duffy. So the part that I think is offensive is these people are expected to work for free.
Yep.
They get trashed by the president.
Mm-hmm.
And when they take a second shift, and then ultimately when they don't show up to this job, because being an air traffic controller requires a tremendous amount of attention. And if you're working a second shift, you're probably tired and not sleeping well.
Mm-hmm.
So for the safety of this country, I'm sure they're probably like, wait a second, we can't
Right.
show up and sit in that tower.
Mm-hmm.
They get trashed
Mm-hmm.
as not being patriotic. Are you kidding me? Did Sean Duffy miss a paycheck? Did he miss a meal? Did you see the line of federal workers around the corner at that food bank in Maryland outside DC?
Yeah, and we featured it in our video about, again, those people were in line in Maryland and other parts of the country while Donald Trump and his friends were holding a, multi-million-dollar Gatsby party for Halloween because, it's let them eat cake.
Yeah.
While the rest of the country suffers, and they don't care.
Don't care.
And then it's like, how dare you be upset about it? That's the other thing. It's like they get mad at people for wanting to take care of themselves because how dare you not sacrifice all things for Donald Trump? And that really is what this comes down to.
I mean, are they, by the way, Donald Trump did not guarantee that anybody would get back pay. So are they like slave labor? Like, are they supposed that's the thing. Are they anticipating that these people are going to be slaves and work?
Listen, there is no doubt in my mind. I mean, hope I'm wrong here, but that they're going to fire the air traffic controllers that didn't go to work.
You know what? They can't, because they are so short on air traffic controllers now
already. You think they're going to just do it anyways, just to make a point?
If they do that, then we're going to have just shut down. I mean, nobody's going to be flying. The economy will be shut down. I think Duffy at least is smart enough to understand that. Trump is crazy. Duffy gets it. Duffy understands the assignment, which is he's got to get these planes back up in the air. I mean, it's Thanksgiving, right? So if he wants to go ahead and fire people right before Thanksgiving, he can go ahead and do that. But it takes a very long time to train new air traffic controllers. It takes a very long time to hire new traffic controllers. Who there's already a huge, and this is not actually Trump's fault, this existed under Biden too. There's a huge shortage of them, which is why you're seeing delays in places like Newark.
Yeah.
It's just problematic everywhere.
And it's a very high level skill, right? That requires mental fitness, physical fitness to a degree, right? To be able to have the stamina to be paying attention, and you have millions of lives in your hands every single day. And that's certainly not a job Donald Trump could do, that's for sure. But I mean, Ronald Reagan fired all those air traffic controllers back in the 80s. I mean, I just don't see how, and I could see Donald Trump trying to be a tough guy, and try to do a Reagan and fire them. I don't know. Maybe I'm being over the top here, but I just totally see him doing that because I don't think he cares. Okay. But here's another. But he has been saying he's going to pay them like a $10,000 bonus or something. And he was asked about this. Laura Ingraham asked him, and of course, then he didn't have terribly good answer.
We should not have had people leaving their jobs. And what I basically did is say the ones that stayed, of which there were a lot of them, I'm sending them a $10,000 bonus.
Where's that money coming from?
I don't know. I'll get it from someplace.
I don't know. I'll get it from someplace. It's good. It's fine. Again, unserious people. And Sean Duffy also was asked about safety because this is a safety issue. And this is what he had to say about that.
Listen, you can walk outside. I can't guarantee your safety. You get in your car. I can't guarantee safety, but I have to look at the risk in this system. And then we have to make decisions based on that risk and based on that pressure.
He cannot guarantee safety. I feel great. I would love to get on a plane right now. And, somebody in the comments was saying, that they get a pretty high salary. Like, good. I hope they do. I hope they're paid lots so that they don't have to be stressed about anything except for the job that they're doing. Right.
Yeah.
Like any person has lives in their hands, any first responder, anybody like that. I hope that they're getting paid a lot because they deserve that money. But, for a guy who's famous for being on The Real World, Sean Duffy knows very little about the real world.
It's crazy. That's a good line. Good line.
It also unfortunately happens to be true.
Yeah. Listen, here's the bottom line. We all have to travel. Well, I shouldn't say we all. Some of us need to travel. Some of us need to travel for work, right? Like I actually don't have anything coming up, I don't think. But very often I have to hop on a plane to DC because I'm over the train.
See, I love the train. I feel like
you know what? I used to
train is civilized. I like it.
I used to like the train, and then I started running into too many people I know in the train. And
so you have that problem.
And I just want to deal, to be honest. And the plane is just easier. You get there. The problem with the plane is you can get out to DC if you're on the first flight in the morning, no problem. Getting back from DC, the planes get canceled all the time, so you end up on the train, and it's awful. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, sometimes I have to fly to DC for work, and I'm not so confident. Thanks to Sean Duffy, it's just bullshit. Like, I hate it. It's everything about this. Like, these people, again, it's what I said in the first block. If somebody wanted to destroy the United States, they could not have picked a better crew to do it.
Oh, absolutely. And just to bring it back to that crazy ass speech yesterday, Donald Trump was talking. He gave a shout out to Russ Vought, who's the director of OMB. Again, because let's look back at the last year since January 20th, right? All of the cuts of federal workers and everything. And he gives them a shout out at this Veterans Day event.
Thank you. What a good job. Very much. Director Russ Vought. Director, thank you. What a good job he's doing. Cutting, but fairly cutting.
Oh, yeah. Fairly cutting. Yes. But they're proud of this. They love it. And they don't care who it hurts. They just don't.
And you know who I blame? The Republican Senate for supporting these ridiculous people and endangering all of us. And when planes start going down, or Russ Vought's policies, which are causing death, will cause mass death and starvation for them. Remember who to blame. Look in the mirror, senators, because that's who you should blame.
Yep.
All right, Michelle, should we move on?
We're going to move on, and we'll be right back. And I love that you've been calling me Michelle. It's my new favorite name.
I come up with nicknames for everybody.
I love it. It's my
I don't think I've called my son by his given name ever in his life. I twisted it in every single way. Hey, you guys, want to be in debt for the rest of your life?
Yay!
Yes, I do. Welcome to the 50-year mortgage. Renowned financial genius, as he reminds us repeatedly, Wharton graduate.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
Donald Trump was surprised to hear that people, including members of his own MAGA base, were not on board with his proposal for a 50-year mortgage. I'm going to get through this clip very quickly because there's some interesting breaking news coming in right now, but I'm just going to say this. Federal Housing Finance Agency Director Bill Pulte claimed on Saturday the Trump administration is, quote unquote, working on a 50-year mortgage plan, nearly doubling the length of what is now the standard 30-year fixed-rate mortgage established after the Great Depression. To be clear, the average age for first-time home buyers in the United States today is 40, which means that you will be 90 before you pay off your house. That's a problem because the median life expectancy is 77 and a half years old, but never fear. Trump told Laura Ingraham that it's not a big deal to go from a 40-year mortgage to a 50-year mortgage. Reminder, there is no such thing as a 40-year mortgage. He doesn't even know what a standard mortgage is. Look, it may not be a big deal for Trump, but just to be clear, the 50-year mortgage will cost you nearly 400,000 more than a standard 30-year. And I want to just come here with breaking news.
Yeah, I just saw it.
That Jeffrey Epstein's emails, some of them have been released. And in those emails, Jeffrey Epstein acknowledged that Trump knew of his conduct. I want to just quote from some of these emails. Let's see. Let me pull some of them up.
Yep, I'm trying.
In one email from April 2011, Epstein told Ghislaine Maxwell, who of course is now sitting in a cushy prison, I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. He added that an unnamed victim, quote, spent hours at my house with him, but he has never once been mentioned. I've been thinking about that, Ghislaine Maxwell responded in an email. Then an email from January 2019, Jeffrey Epstein wrote to Michael Wolff, who, of course, by the way, you should follow him on Substack.
Oh my God, please follow him.
Follow him. But Michael Wolff, interviewed him, Jeffrey Epstein at length. And he wrote to Michael Wolff about Trump. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. I don't know what that's all about. And then this week, of course, Ghislaine Maxwell is preparing to formally ask Trump to commute her federal prison sentence. So these emails were provided to the Oversight Committee, the House Oversight Committee, along with a larger tranche of documents from Epstein's estate that the panel requested as part of its investigation into Epstein and Maxwell. So, look, I don't, at the time that Epstein emailed Maxwell in 2011 calling Trump the dog that didn't bark, Trump was a reality TV star who was years away from becoming president, but still a big celebrity, as you recall, on The Apprentice. You guys, it's ridiculous. In another email, Epstein mentioned a victim of a sex trafficking operation, and he also mentioned Mar-a-Lago, and then disputed that Trump had ever asked him to resign from the club because he said, quote, never a member ever. He was never a member. Wolff, and I'm reading here directly, Wolff was also involved in a third email exchange, this is from the New York Times, which began on December 15th, 2015, the night of a debate in the Republican presidential primary. Wolff emailed Epstein and warned him that CNN was, quote, planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in scrum afterwards. Epstein wrote back, quote, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? Wolff, by the way, not so ethical as a reporter, advised inaction, suggesting that Trump might try to deny a close association with Epstein. Quote, I think you should let him hang himself, he wrote of Trump. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency that could, quote, be used to hang him later and save him, generating a debt. So it's very obvious that Epstein was blackmailing Trump based on which apparently Michael Wolff was totally suborning.
Again, a very accessy kind of guy, right? I mean, Michael Wolff, and he's been a little more candid, I think, and separate lately. But I'm sure back in the day, in order to write all of those, books about Donald Trump and biographies and whatnot, he had to do that.
Well, he also, don't forget, he's getting pissed off now because Melania threatened to sue him, and he sued her, countersued for the New York slap law, which is great. But Michael Wolff, on the point here, Michael Wolff the point here is that Trump is the dog that didn't bark. That Trump was in on it up to his knees. That Epstein is saying that there was, stuff with him and girls, and that it hasn't come out, and why hasn't it come out?
Yeah.
And the question is that's an excellent question. Who was protecting Donald Trump?
Right.
Who was?
And well, right now we know who's protecting Donald Trump, and that is all the Republicans in Congress.
But back then, 2011, this is very interesting. In 2011, who was protecting Donald Trump? Barack Obama was president. I believe Eric Holder was the attorney general.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were working on any of this, probably not. But there were people, including I think Julie K. Brown and others, who were kind of looking into what was going on from the minute she was
Vicky Ward, right? Vicky Ward was
Vicky Ward, but I think Julie K. Brown is the one who broke the story.
Yes.
Who's amazing. We should have her on the podcast.
Absolutely.
But what I want to know is, what did Epstein mean by? I mean, we know what he meant by Trump being the dog that didn't bark. Obviously, that there's so much there, and why isn't he coming out? All of it coming out, but why? Why? And who does this conspire? I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but clearly this is a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Who was it? Who was the conspirator here who was protecting Trump from all of this? Because again, Maxwell and Epstein were talking about dogs that didn't bark and like what the hell was going on here? And girls that Trump was spending a lot of time with.
I mean, if you had to guess, what do you think?
I actually don't know.
You just don't know?
This is not a rhetorical question. I legitimately have no idea. I mean, who?
Like, could it be the Russians? Could it be?
Well, listen, there is a argument that Epstein was providing some sort of service to some intelligence agencies, including potentially ours, and that that's why he was protected, and very well possible that somebody was protecting him and somebody was protecting the people around him who were complicit. Now, you had people like Lex Wexner, and others who came out of this, but for the most part, there was nothing, Jeffrey Epstein did not go from being a math teacher at a New York City private school getting paid $5.50 an hour. Being a billionaire with one of the biggest, if not the biggest townhouse in New York City in a private island.
Yeah.
In the
He used
Virgin
to be
Islands.
a consulate, for God's sakes. He turned a consulate into his house.
Yeah. So that doesn't just happen. It doesn't just happen. And
I have a question for you, Julie. Do you think it's possible? I mean, maybe I've just watched too many spy movies. Do you think it's possible that the United States government, I'm talking like intelligence agencies, knew about Jeffrey Epstein's behavior, or that he had this trafficking, operation, and that they went to him and said, we need information on all of these foreign dignitaries or whatever it is, these people that he was providing, young women for, and we'll look the other way and we'll continue to let you traffic women. You think that?
Yes, because look who he had, right? He had just of the prominent foreign people that we know about, right? Prince Andrew. I mean, this is a member of the British royal family. That's insane.
Right.
It's not like some random, attaché, the British embassy. He had Ehud Barak, who was the former prime minister in Israel. I mean, we don't even know who else he had over there. But the point is, yes, I mean, of course. If you have evidence that Prince Andrew is sleeping with underage girls, and you have evidence potentially, which has not yet come out, so I don't want to get sued for defamation here, but hypothetically a potential evidence that a prime minister of a close ally is engaged in sex with underage girls, and God knows who else,
and who knows what other countries he had.
In other countries, right? That is gold.
Right.
That is currency gold.
Right. And that, I'm sure, I mean, he's got to deal with, potentially with, United States intelligence services, but then I think about
Other others.
Russia, Iran, like who knows?
Yeah, but it's interesting that they're curious. Like they would know. And it's curious that he and Maxwell are emailing each other saying, it's interesting that Trump's the dog that doesn't bark. Like it's not like they're like, oh, so and so is protecting Donald Trump.
Mm.
And the whole thing, there's so much more to this, I think. And again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but like add it all up and it makes sense. There's so much more to this, unfortunately, for the survivors, for the victims here, than just underage sex.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There is a protection racket going on of Jeffrey Epstein. There's a protection racket clearly, as we just saw in these emails I just broke, going on Donald Trump by somebody. There is a reason why Obama didn't touch this. There's a reason why Biden didn't touch this. And everybody's like, oh, it's Bill Clinton. It's not Bill Clinton.
No.
Oh, by the way, of course, they also had a former United States president, Bill Clinton, potentially, who spent a lot of time.
I mean, can you imagine the amount of shit that they have on him? Like, oh my God.
So that's my point. Like, it's not just about Clinton, and it's not just about Ehud Barak, and it's not just about Prince Andrew. And those are just the ones that we know about that were hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. And who is protecting all of this, and who is behind all of this? And yes, Jeffrey Epstein, I mean, prima facie, like on the face of this, who in the world believes that Jeffrey Epstein got rich because he's some financial genius who was advising the head of BlackRock?
Right. I think that there is some amount of genius of Jeffrey Epstein, but it has nothing to do with finance and it has nothing to do with math. I think he is a genius at playing people. I think he's a con man, or was a con man. He's no longer alive, obviously, but I think that he's a snake, and I think he has this otherworldly ability to not only get people to trust him, but then also he has this ability to completely cut people and blackmail them. The most powerful people in the world he had in the palm of his hand, because he set up cameras in his house. I mean, like, it's just
like, it is a blackmail racket. And the question is not just who was being blackmailed, which is a very salient question.
Right.
The question that I think people should be asking is, who's protecting the people who were being blackmailed, and why? Why? If Jeffrey Epstein himself is asking this question, I am surprised that Trump is the dog that didn't bark. Like, why has Trump not been named here? Right? We've had Bill Clinton's name come up. We've had Ehud Barak's name come up. We've had Prince Andrew's name come up. But this is when Trump was not president yet. He was just a celebrity. Why did Trump's name never come up?
I think I think it's so bad, Julie. I think it's so bad. I think it goes beyond just, like you said, just the abuse, just the sex with the girls, which is on its face just horrible. I think that there's all of this Russia stuff, right? I always, for this kind of stuff, I'm like, where there's smoke, there is fire. I think where there is smoke, there is a nuclear bomb, because I think that Donald Trump has been selling out the United States for decades. And I think the damage that he's doing right now to not just the United States, but the entire Western democracy, and I bring this back, and I actually just was searching in my computer. I was like, do I still have this? This is from September of 2016. This is the Jane Doe case. Just to remind people again, like the level of how bad this is. I just want to read this, and trigger warning to people, like, this is sexual assault, abuse, rape stuff. It's pretty bad. This is Manhattan. A woman who says Donald Trump raped her at a private sex party when she was 13 years old refiled a lawsuit against him Friday. This is in 2016, 2 weeks after voluntarily dismissing a suit based on the same claims. The new complaint filed in the federal court in Manhattan restates plaintiff Jane Doe's claims of the earlier lawsuit, namely that she was lured by a recruiter to summer parties hosted by co-defendant Jeffrey Epstein, Upper East Side mansion on East 71st Street. She goes on to claim that Epstein also forcibly raped her. He and Trump bickered over who should have taken the minor plaintiff's virginity. The original complaint was accompanied by 2 declarations. The first, signed by Jane Doe herself, detailing that Trump's alleged savage sexual attack on then 13-year-old plaintiff. The second declaration was signed by Tiffany Doe, who said she was hired by Jeffrey Epstein. And this goes on. I mean, Tiffany Doe claims she convinced the then 13-year-old plaintiff to attend the parties as a means to break into the New York professional modeling world. In her declaration, Tiffany Doe says she witnessed 4 sexual encounters in which Jane Doe was forced to have sex with Donald Trump, and 2 encounters involving the plaintiff and Jeffrey Epstein. Tiffany Doe declaration included Epstein's threats against her and her family for disclosing the details. I mean, this is just one girl, right? He's threatening her family, everything about her if she was to speak up. Imagine what he's doing to the most powerful people in the world. This is one instance. And yes, this young woman, dropped the case because, again, I want to remind people to come forward about this kind of abuse and this kind of assault. You're risking everything. And
Guys, let me say this. For anybody who's like, oh, she dropped the case, it's not true.
It could be.
I have, I run a nonprofit called Lift Our Voices that deals with silencing mechanisms, right? We're trying to eradicate NDAs and forced arbitration. Right. But because Gretchen Carlson, who and I, who are the co-founders of this, obviously went through some pretty high profile stuff at Fox News, we have a lot of people calling us all the time. And especially the height of the Me Too movement a few years ago, my phone would ring, no joke, probably every day, with women who wanted to come forward. And they were so close to coming forward about the stories, and they couldn't talk to anybody because they were bound by NDAs. They knew that obviously I would never disclose because that's what I fight against. So a lot of them talked to me, even though they were violating their NDAs. And the stories that I know as a result of those conversations about nothing to do with Epstein, nothing to do with Trump, but really powerful people. Mm-hmm. And 9 times out of 10, these women never filed because they were scared and they were terrified. And I'll never forget this. One said to me that she was convinced that, is it Black Cube? Is that Israeli?
Yep.
That she would be followed by Black Cube if she ever came forward, and she was worried for her safety. I mean, because she was talking to me about a really powerful man, a very, very wealthy, powerful man. And most times people don't come forward. They just don't. Especially when it comes to powerful people, because the deck is stacked against you. I mean, listen, I came forward about Roger Ailes and Fox News. Let me tell you, like, you have the kitchen sink thrown at you when you do that kind of thing. And whenever anybody calls me and says, should I come forward? I say that is a really personal decision, because you have to understand you're going to have the kitchen sink thrown at you. Now, I was 44 years old when I did that. Mm-hmm. This girl was 13 when she was raped. 13 years old. I have a 13-year-old boy. He still secretly watches cartoons when he doesn't think anybody's paying attention. He's a little boy. Yeah. He hasn't hit puberty yet, right? This girl was a 13. I mean, I remember being a 13-year-old girl.
Yeah, it's why I'm looking at this article, Julian. It says the new complaint includes additional witness, blah, 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 from what happened with Trump and Epstein during the 1994 and 1995 school year. I am the same age. I was 13 at the same time as this young girl. In 1995, I was 13 years old. And you know what I was doing when I was 13 years old? I was hanging out with my friends. I was playing the clarinet. I was going to dance class. I mean, I was a kid. I was a child. And I can't.
8th grade.
Yeah.
8th grade. not even high school, 8th grade. I mean, I remember 8th grade like it was yesterday. Like I remember exactly where I was in 8th grade. I was literally hanging out with my best friend and we were like passing notes about a boy that I had a crush
Yeah, right. I'm like, it wasn't a terribly fun time. I didn't enjoy being 13
on.
very much, but
I had
yeah,
really bad perm and braces.
yeah,
And yeah. But
yeah. But nothing compares to what these,
mm,
what the trauma that these young women went through.
and I will also say, because it sounds to me like this girl's from New Jersey, because she had a Jersey-based lawyer.
Mm,
Um, and she was coming into the city to try to break into the modeling world.
yeah.
My best friend in 8th grade, what her mom was a pretty famous model.
Mm,
And Eileen Ford, who was
right.
the head of the modeling world back then,
Mhm.
called my friend's mom and said to her, "Hey, I want your daughter to come model for me because my friend was beautiful, 5'11", built like a model.
Mhm.
She would have been a huge model if she wanted to do it." And my friend's mom, who had been a model, who had lived with Eileen Ford,
Mhm.
who, had seen it all in the 60s, really discouraged her daughter from doing that
Yeah.
for reasons that were never clear to us.
Yeah.
And my friend then, ironically, ended up going to Wharton and actually being a very successful finance person.
Well, good. I mean, good for. I mean, but I mean, you and I
Yeah,
both know. We live in New York. We know
yeah.
people who've been models or are models.
But right. But my point of
Yeah.
this whole story is, at 13,
Right.
this approach was made. My
Yeah.
friend mom was like, I don't think so. They were also very well off. They didn't need the money.
Mhm.
When a 13-year-old girl has the call
Yeah.
to get a to potentially, you could go be a model, just go meet the right
Right.
people, you run.
Yeah. It's
Run.
your
I mean,
ticket.
how
It's your
many
ticket.
girls do we know? I mean, I'm from New Jersey, who would get on the train to just run to try to break in, because this was the
Mhm.
days of like Cindy Crawford and Naomi Campbell.
Yeah, and you would just go to the city and like, I mean, that's the other thing is people don't realize it's back then, like teenagers, like not to say their parents weren't good parents. That's not what it was. Just it was a different time. And if you were a teenager, you just go. You just went to the city. And these young women, young girls, children really being thrown into this modeling world are so vulnerable. And they're all living in this tiny apartment together. And there's like 8 of them. And there's these dirty old men hanging around them.
I
And
listen,
that's what they
I
get
got
thrown
on the
into.
train. My parents don't even know this. My friend and the same friend and I we just would get on the train and we would just go into the city.
Yeah.
And
It was
I
a
don't
very normal thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like she pretend she was at my house. I pretend I was at her house. Our parents, this is before cell phones. They couldn't track us. And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to my friend's house." And my friend would be like,
Right.
"I'm at
Right.
Julie's house." And I'm specifically not giving her name because I don't want to embarrass her, and then we would just go get on the New Jersey Transit and go into the
Yeah.
city. But you know what we would do? We would go to Serendipity.
Oh, get a frozen hot
Get that
chocolate.
hot
So
chocolate.
cute.
Yeah, which is like what kids do here.
Right, right.
We walk around the city, and maybe if we were really daring, we'd
You,
take the
like, act
subway.
like you're grown up.
We
Yeah.
acted like grown-ups, and we didn't really do anything. We just bum around the city, and then we get back on the train, and we were like, oh
Yeah.
my god, we snuck into the
Yeah.
city." Um, and I'm sure that's what these girls did.
Yeah.
It's not even their parents' fault. They probably were pretending they're at Michelle's house sleeping over, right? While they were being
Right,
raped in
right.
Donald
Just hope
Trump.
your parents didn't call each other, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so their
Yeah.
parents had to call each other. I actually got busted once really hard,
Yeah.
in high school by my friend's dad, who
Happens to the best of us.
yeah, but I was banned from our house for a few years as a result.
Yeah.
Um, but but the point is, 13,
13.
13. I don't blame her
13.
for withdrawing her complaint.
No, I don't either. I mean, I haven't listen. Having to make any sort of decision having to do with any kind of abuse, discrimination, anything, like, it's when you start receiving threats through lawyers of powerful people with you think twice about things, not because you want to let them win, but you're just like, what quality of life am I going to have going forward? What is the risk reward, right? Like What am I going to get out of this? And will I ever get a job again? Every time someone Googles my name, this is going to come up. They're going to go through my past. They're going to find out who my old boyfriends were. They're going to find out that I had some waitressing job. And, it's just because these people have all this money. They have all of this influence and ability to dig into your life in a way that you can't to them.
Yeah.
And they'll bury you in legal fees. They will bury you. I mean, because people listen, there's a lot of lawyers out there who'll do pro bono, but they'll only do pro bono until they decide that they don't want to.
Let me tell you something about pro bono.
Or contingency, which is a whole nother.
Yeah, let me tell you something about contingency, which is what most of these lawyers do stuff for. Only until they figure out that this case is not going to settle quickly.
Yep.
And if it takes years and years and years and years.
Yep.
Suddenly they lose interest because they're losing, billable hours. So
and the other side knows that.
And the other side knows that they're going to drag it out.
Yep. They will drag it out they won't answer their emails. They won't answer. Not that I've been through this, but I have. And they'll just drag it out. They'll drag it out. Hoping that,
Yep.
Just to silence people too. And it's just, and this is just on such a grander, more horrible, cruel, inhumane, global scale. And the irony here is that the QAnon, right? The QAnon conspiracies, like the Pizzagate, the Jack Posobiec, like all of this was about some sort of global elitist cabal of all these, world leaders, Democrats, liberals, and a pedophilic, human trafficking ring. But the thing is, it does exist. And they didn't think it was their people. They thought it was just the other people, but it's theirs too. And, now the people in the House, Mike Johnson, they're all going to have to face this. And I think that my guess, I don't know, I could be totally wrong here, Julie, but it says that the Oversight Committee had these emails. Obviously, I mean, I don't know if they oversight, did they release them or was it leaked? These emails that Oversight has. I don't know. Because now that Congresswoman-elect Grijalva is going to be apparently, supposedly sworn in at 4:00 today, Eastern time, that gives them the 218th vote to release the Epstein files. But does that mean, I mean, Thomas Massie feels pretty confident, but is Nancy Mace going to back out? Is one of the other, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know. And so maybe this was like a push. We're going to release these emails and, don't back away from this, because now that Donald Trump's name is attached to this, it's, saying to Mike Johnson, I dare you now. I dare you to go out in public in front of a microphone and defend this. I dare you. And he still will.
He will.
But, it's just, this is their legacy that they're going to have to answer to. And it's their, if this is what you believe in, they're going to have to meet their maker one of these days and have to answer for some of this. Oh, that's so nice, Joe. Thank you so much. Thank you. My husband made me coffee. It's very sweet.
So can you come over here? Because I'm down. Go to my tea. Anyway, we got to jump. We will see you at noon today.
Yeah, we're going to do Over It today. JoJo has an appointment. She's not going to be able to make it, but it'll be Julie, Tara, and myself. And my guess is we're probably going to spend the majority of that time probably talking about this because it is such huge news. But please meet us back here at noon for Over It here on the Mayday Network. Please like and subscribe. Please go click down here and like this video. Subscribe to this channel. You'll be the first to know when we have new content or we're going live to talk about breaking news. Julie, any parting words?
Watch this space because there are a lot of questions about Epstein that have not yet been asked or answered for sure. And we have to just process what we read and we'll be back to you.
Yep.
So we'll see you guys soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Are you ready for